Welcome to Get My Cheese Back on My Cracker podcast. And today we are going to talk about what this organization is primarily about is removing the stigma around mental health. But today's conversation is pretty much going to be around the stigma or the allure around therapy. But before we continue, I want to bring in our guest. First person we're going to bring on today is Brother Copeland. Brother Copeland, please feel free to introduce yourself.
Hey everybody, I'm Copeland. I'm a mental health advocate in the space. I'm not an expert at anything. I am just an advocate for the mental health and also the communication that will result from healthy beings in the community.
Awesome, awesome. And then next, my beautiful wife, Jacqueline Benjamin. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Good morning. Good morning, everybody. I am Jackie Benjamin. Um, I am professionally in business operations and strategy, but also personally. I am an advocate for people being their best selves, presenting their best selves in every situation. And I am happy to be here and go through this conversation around mental health and therapy and self care and wellness, mental wellness as
Awesome,
a entirety. Thank you for
awesome,
having me.
awesome. Next, we have always. Oh well, she's not there, so we're gonna go to the next person. We're gonna go to Aaron. Please feel free to introduce yourself.
Good morning. Good morning. My name is Aaron Taliaferro. I'm a clinical mental health counselor or therapist. I work in both community health setting as well as private practice, and I'm here to just to share, to learn, and to help our people grow.
Awesome, awesome. And we do have one more person coming on, so where we might find them at some point or another. But today's conversation is really going to be about the phases of which we all go through to kind of seek help, right? I think there is a time and place in which we realize something has to change. And what we sometimes do is confide into a loved one, confide into a friend, and I think a majority of us get different type of responses. So this first section is going to be the conversation. For myself at least, it was at least me realizing like what depression was looking like for me and reaching out to the people in my community to kind of determine like where should I go, what should I do. Now, luckily for me, I worked for a child welfare agency, and I had therapists around me to kind of help me understand what's going on in my life, and so they kind of guided me in the right direction. But what has these type of conversations been like for you all when it comes to like, hey, I'm going through a thing and feeling like somebody either is provided you the level of support or not? Because I think that's one of the things Copeland and I have talked about a lot is there's not a lot of compassion for at least for black men when we're talking about things are going wrong or we're not doing something great. So before we go there, we're gonna have Tisa go. Tisa, could you please go ahead and introduce yourself?
Sure. Sorry, I'm late. My name is Tisa. On my platforms, I normally go by Tisa Lachey. I'm an Army veteran and I'm a licensed clinician, and I currently work with individuals coming home from federal prison.
Awesome, awesome. And we're gonna get back to the conversation. So this section is the conversation. How have you all seen the conversation go in your circles or in your lives where someone's come to you talking about like, hey, things aren't going a particular way or I'm struggling, and you know, do you see people getting more help in that direction versus people are being like, suck it up and just deal with it? Anybody could jump on this one.
I would say I think I have a little bit of a nuanced experience based on the fact that people realized I was going back to school at some juncture to become a clinician or therapist. And so it's almost like people would knock down my door a little bit um, just for any help, any resource, or even at a social function, they would, you know, try to kind of like pull me to the side. And so, but I think so. I think in seeing that, I think there's been more. No, I guess it's been more normalized in regards to like asking for help or and seeking help. I would say prior to that, though, I think the conversations, because of once again, I think if you're a person who everyone comes to talk to type of deal, if that's your role in your circle and things of that nature, it was still pretty normalized. Whether I was sending somebody a podcast or trying to get them to some other resource that I knew, I think that because of my presence in people's lives and how I kind of show up and what I give, I think it was a little normalized for me for people to seek help and ask. And it wasn't as I guess I guess it wasn't as I wasn't the scary person, or they knew that I had compassion already. To simply
Mm.
say that. So yeah.
Hope, I know you had a different perspective on this when we first talked about this. Let's talk about, you know, Hope and I have argued over this several times, right?
Paige
When
argues, I don't argue.
So when talking to Copeland, it's always an argument, just so y'all know. But you come from a place where in your travels you don't see the same level of compassion that the rest of us are seeing. Can you kind of explain that, and where does your perspective come from?
So I realized that my perspective actually has two perspectives, right? And so for myself, I've I've had to go through the narrative and the mentality of nobody cares, right? And so I can relate to a lot of people when they say nobody cares because it's more of a connotative thing than a definitive thing. It's not, we're not going by the definition. The truth is never that nobody cares. The truth is more so that the people that we're looking to care don't care the way that we want them to. And so it
Mm.
feels away.
Mm,
So for myself, like let's say I had a business and I wanted my business partners to care about how it was that I was feeling, and they really didn't. But is it that they didn't care, or is it that they were looking at me realizing that I've always been the strong friend? And so I take that perspective and I had to grow with it because I had to see it from the other side. Because it's not even so much that nobody cares and that people aren't there to help you, because there are people who I have attempted to help who I could tell later weren't even ready or in a space to receive help.
mm,
And to be honest with you, the coin bothers me regardless of which side that it flips on. It really bothers me when I'm not allowed to help in a way that I feel like I could help. And it also bothers me when, not even for me, it's not help. For me, it's just a matter of caring. When I don't feel like it's cared about, you know? I don't mind slaying the dragon, but I would like to talk about how scared I was when I was slaying the dragon, and oftentimes I don't have a space to talk about that, if that makes sense.
Copeland, I love that evolution for you. I couldn't wait till you finish your thought.
You're
I
you're you-
love that evolution for you.
so
Do you
wait a
know
minute.
how hard it is for a
Okay,
black woman that
all
loves
right,
y'all
all
to
right.
hear nobody cares, nobody cares, nobody cares? Hello, hello, we
I
are right here
know. I
caring.
hear you.
Maybe
Thank
not the
you,
way you
Jackie.
want us to. Maybe in not
Maybe
the
not.
presentation, it doesn't come in the space that you exactly wanted. But there are people who care and care and care.
A
There
million,
also
and I,
is this thing about life that you don't get exactly what you put in from the same place that you put it. It
yeah.
all comes back to you, the love, the appreciation, the all of that, the gratitude. It comes back to you, the blessings. How you bless someone is not going to be reciprocal exactly. It's not going to be equal. It may be equitable in life. The universe
mhm.
balances that out for us, but it might not come exactly from the place in exactly the way you were. Ah, Copeland, I love this for you. I love this for me.
I was
We having
about to
conversation
say
with
how
you moving
blessed I
forward.
was, but But y'all clearly can see how loved I am. So I don't
Right,
even have to talk about it anymore. I
right.
love you. I love you too, Jackie. I love you too.
One thing I was gonna add to what I heard Copeland say is, the thing that there's a quote or something that people can't love or care, have compassion past the love, care, or compassion they have for self. So oftentimes the people we are seeking this from, they don't know how to care, they don't know how to show compassion, because that was not modeled for them. They did not develop that. There was no example, no blueprint of that for them. And so therefore we you know they could be stoic, and they could care in the way that they believe they're caring, or but it may not meet the mark, because once again they don't you know they beat up on themselves, right? So about things, or they're down on themselves, or when they have their own things, they're doing things that maybe not be as conducive to their healing or their growth. And so when you come to them, if they don't have the capacity to do it for themselves or the know-how, it's very difficult for them to do it for you.
100%. Double tap on that. Sometimes it really just is the other person's self, because they can only give what they have. You can only give what you have. So if you don't love yourself, or you don't see value in yourself, and you're not grateful for the blessings and all the things that life has for you, how can you give that? You can't give it from nothing. If I it just and that is a very mature realization, because we want what we give. We want what we give. And if people are doing things in different ways that show you that there's a potential there for caring and understanding and love, you want that thing, but they might not be able to give it to you in the way you expect for it.
Mm.
I'm gonna put our relationship on blast, babe. So
That's why
we
you on
we
here.
are total opposite, like polar opposites. We have common interests, which makes our marriage amazing, but we are polar opposites. Polar opposite. He is very calm. He is very calculated. He is very logical. He is very subdued at times. He can get excitable. I like that those times. But most of the time, I'm high energy, ready to go, full speed ahead, 100%. Let's get into it. I don't want to read the instructions. I just want to jump in and do the thing. And it creates a level of, I don't know if I'm giving love or receiving love in the way that I need it, because it looks very different. It looks very different. Our therapist, our marriage counselor said we need to reread the five love languages, because we are giving love. It's just not necessarily in the ways that the other one is receiving it. I want, and it's crazy because I've never been a words of affirmation person until my husband wasn't giving me the words of affirmation. But he's acts of service all day. Like, he's doing, constantly thinking of ways to improve our lives, even improve my life, make us better. But I'm like, can you just tell me I'm cute? Like
Dang, man, got me out here looking bad. But I think you bring up a good point, right? So to that point, and we're in this section of the conversation. It's a very vulnerable place to come to your mate and say, "Hey, I think we need to go to counseling because there are things that I feel like I'm not getting." And do you mind talking to that? Because I think there's this assumption that relationships are perfect, our relationship is perfect, or things are just supposed to expect to work. But with every senior couple that we've met, it's always been, it's not going to be easy. It's not perfect. There is no model. So let's talk about that conversation, like the
mhm,
wanting to do therapy, because I'm not saying Jackie's anti-therapy, but she was like, "Let's get a family that's already been doing it, and let's have them guide us." And I was like, "Nope, let's get a therapist." But not to say it wouldn't help, but there were some reasons behind me wanting a therapist specifically. But let's talk about the conversation of how was that, right? Because I know it's very vulnerable to go to your mate and say, hey, there are things you're not giving me, but I want to see if we can work on it.
Yeah, and I can speak on that from a individual perspective and also someone in relationship, because I am an athlete and I believe in coaches and I believe in getting lessons and life lessons from people in the arena who either studied it or have has lived in it. So when Paige says I wanted to get a family, I wanted to get a married couple who had been in this game for many years, and I wanted both wife and husband to counsel us or coach us into, better communication. Like, why reinvent the wheel? There are things and tools and tricks and tips that people who have lived through it and suffered through all of the things to get to the level of understanding. I do know in life, there are people, there are life coaches, there are people who are friends that was discussed earlier, that there's a person in your life that you like the way they govern their affairs. You like the way things are going for them. They give good advice. So you go to them and ask them questions about how really I was looking for someone who's in the arena. But what was more important to me is well, what is, I won't say more important to me. When it's two people, you have to compromise on what both of y'all want. I laugh at not laugh. I don't want to say laugh, but it is laugh because I'm a little judgmental at people who have a plan for something that requires something else. Oh, I want to have 4 kids. Oh, does your husband want to have? Oh, I don't have a husband yet, but I want to have 4 kids. I want to live in this place in the world. I want to do this. I want my wedding to look like this. I want for an individual to be making plans on behalf of another individual who they may not have even met yet or just started dating is crazy to me. Um, it's enough that we don't know ourselves to go into the world and present us in the world and make plans for ourselves, because really we are maximizing whatever opportunities come to us. We don't have all of the choices and the control that we think we have. Then you add another person to the mix, you have no control. You have no control. The only really thing you can do is lean in and let that person know, listen, I'm genuine. I'm willing to do what it takes to be a better individual, to be in better partnership, to be in a good relationship. Whether it's your spouse, your significant other, your business partner. Some of us need to go to counseling with our business partners. Whoever it is, if you're in partnership with someone, if you have to share life with them and make co-decisions, you need to have a basis or a place that you are working out the way your mind works and the way their mind works and how to come together. And so my husband is a therapy advocate. My husband is a therapy advocate. So I had to become a therapy at least enthusiast in order for us to make a decision, or for me to be able to express the vulnerability of we need help. We can't just do it on our own. Not only does raising children require a village, having a good marriage, people around us that we choose to do life with, they have to be just as in support as we do. I really I disagree with people that are like, we don't need anybody. It's me and you against the world. Not for two people who want to be in community, not for two people who are family oriented, who check on their friends, who are the strong people in their lives. Like, for those two kind of people, you need support. You need a village, just like if you're raising a child, to cultivate a good partnership. So that was I give up. I white flag. Let's go to therapy. Let's get a professional to help us with some of these things. And we lucked out. We found a professional that also has been married for 3 decades. And so like we got a good mix. You get what you pray for, I guess.
And I want to add, so for me, sneakily, there's additional pieces to it, right? My wife, She may not admit it, but me being a person that service is one of my love languages, I wanted to make sure she had a space, a person, a professional to talk to as well. And as you, Tisa, and Aaron know, there's that one on one functionality that you can have in couples therapy. So I made sure that the therapist included one on ones so that Jackie would have her sessions so she can have the conversations she needs to have and blow up and whatever without feeling like she can't say something in front of me, and also have that for a supplemental support. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
So, once again, not silly, but I was open about it. I was like, in order for us to do this, you have to do a one on one. And she was open and willing. I don't want to say she conceded. She was very willing, and I appreciate you for that, sweetheart. Tisa, um, so explain to me your clientele. Is that court ordered, or is that like you're working directly with the prisons and they're identifying like people for you to work with? Because I have a follow up question.
Okay, so only certain clients are mandatory. Like if they do the residential drug treatment program while they're in prison, so they get like a year off or whatever. So if they're in that program, which is called RDAP, then whenever they get to us, they have to do a bare minimum of like 120 days of consistent therapy. So that's group once a week, a 90-minute group, and then they have individual one-on-one sessions for 60 minutes. Um, and most of them are pretty much dual diagnosis or they're just strictly substance abuse. And then for the other case though, like you just have some people that come in, they just like, hey, I just want to do med management. So we'll link them up with the PA on staff. Or they have some people that just be like, oh, okay, we kind of build a rapport. I stay a little bit, just to, talk and have a conversation. So it's honestly it's a mix. So it's some that are mandatory, it's some who don't need no medication, but they just want somebody to talk to, and then it's some that just, yeah, they really need to be sitting down on somebody's chair, couch, floor, or something. So
So the
it's a
reason
healthy mix going on.
the reason I ask is how does the conversation part thing happens here, right? Because it sounds like the prison or the program orchestrates that conversation initially, like, and for some people it's not even a conversation; it's a requirement in order for you to be released. But for the others that are like, hey, I think I still want this. What has that conversation been like? And it's predominantly men, or is it men and women?
I have men and women.
Okay.
So yeah, the caseload don't discriminate with sexuality, religion, crime, none of that. Like I get the whole pie. If you could think it, they probably came and sat in front of me. But yeah, so for the most part, like the conversation, it goes really well because I always go through their records before they come and sit in front of me. And I think for me, what works in my favor is I talk to everybody like a human being. Like I don't let their crime or whatever it is that they've been through, I don't let it be like the determining factor of how I treat them. So everybody come in, hey, how you doing? Good morning, what's up? Like, ask them how they, what do they prefer to be called? Like, hey, do you want to go by your last name? You got a nickname? And for me, I think that's like the icebreaker because you can see like the weight just kind of lift off their shoulder, and I have to let them know like, hey, BOP don't sign my check. Like we're contracted out. Like we just like provide the services. Like I'm not here to judge. I can't send you nowhere. Like I remind them the importance of confidentiality. So like, hey, what you say in here is gonna stay in here unless you like you get ready to go hurt somebody or go hurt yourself outside of that. It's free game. And from there, like they just get to talking or they be like, you know what? I don't really need this. I want to go focus on work. And they opt out and they go about their business. And I respect it. I don't try to force nobody to do no therapy. Even if I feel like they could benefit from it, I just tell them, hey, you got this much time left. If you want to come back, you come back. If you don't, I completely respect it. And I let them be. And the word of mouth, like some people they be like, yeah, I heard, yeah, so I'm gonna come over here and I'm gonna talk, or it all depends, but that's the biggest thing for me, like how I talk to them, and a lot of them they say they appreciate it because they get identified by a register number for so long that and to me I feel like hearing your name and somebody just talking to you like you're a human being, like it makes the big difference, and for them it does. Some of them stay even whenever they wasn't even gonna get any sessions, but just how I, approach them and talk to them. They'd be like, you know what, I'm gonna do some one-on-ones. So that's how it works for me.
Okay, that's and that's good because it leads me to the next phase of this conversation. So, once a person's decided that they want to seek therapy, the next phase here is an intake process, right? And this is what I call the courting process, the courting phase, right? Um, both Aaron and Tisa, from your perspective, and if you feel like things are being redundant, no need to reshare, but explain to us the importance of the intake process.
You want to go
Uh,
first?
s- yeah, I'll go. Only because so similar to Tisa, I work for a community health organization that does see a plethora of people, demographic from those who are court ordered to those who voluntarily just come in. They're coming from crisis or various places, and so that intake is a lot more formal, a lot more, I would say, a lot more assessments, more time spent, um, digging more into history of homelessness, incarceration, drug use, all of those things. Whereas in private practice, where I mainly see couples and a few adult individuals, it's not that it's not also very intentional, but I don't have the I don't have to dot all the same I's and cross all the same T's, I would say. And so it's a little less um informal, and it's not always the same time frame and things of that nature. And obviously those people opted automatically to come, and so it's a little different. You're still checking in kind of their background with therapy, any diagnosis, if they take medication, things of that nature, if they've done therapy in the past, if they've, um, and and really asking what's bringing them here there. In community setting, a lot of times it is all of those other things that are bringing them there. It's we have because we have the other resources of case management and things of that nature, so they have to see us as the assessor or the person doing the intake, but they may not see us again until they get another assessment. And so the assessment there could be, as Tisa was saying, just for med management, so they can get medication because they have no insurance or a certain type of insurance, and things of that nature. So, um, but I would say the intake process is also the process where that person has an opportunity to, as Tisa was saying, being seen as a full human being, and really just like share their all their experiences and what's been going on, and also kind of understand all the different options for them, all the different resources, because they might come in for one thing, they might not know you have a housing program, or you have this other thing, you have group therapy, or you have yoga, or whatever we you may provide. There's a smorgasbord of things that my organization happens to provide, that's not what they came in there, but once they know about it, now you are kind of introducing them to other opportunities as well. So as much as it is gathering information from them, it's also giving them a lot of information and tools and connecting them and being that conduit to various types of help.
Appreciate that. I want let's see. Let's do a reenactment of an intake. So I'll be the person doing an intake, and since Aaron explained it, Tisa, I want to see your bedside manner as far as an intake specialist, right? Um,
Oh,
so
this is cool.
I'm coming to you as a person looking for certain. I guess I'm not looking. I'm being um, directed to you, but nonetheless, this is our first time meeting, and let's just go through your a typical intake process so that people out there can see what an intake could look like. And once again, it's different for every um, organization, it's different for every level of clinician, and depending on what you're coming in with or what programs are being offered for you, the questions change. So, but once again, nobody really knows what an intake process looks like unless you've actually been on the receiving end. So I wanted to do kind of a reenactment of what that could look like, if that's okay with you.
Okay, so are we kind of like doing it based on like my job or what? Because I'm not sure like the admin part is more so done in the front, and I'm strictly like with the assessments, the diagnosis, the actual sessions or whatever. So I mean, but I've done intake and stuff before, but I just want to know like how we rolling with this.
Well, let's roll with it from not your job, but a typical, not typical. Yeah. So a non-specialist, right? So they're coming in. So I'm coming to you. Hey, Aaron told me about you. I'm dealing with depression and anxiety. I think I have ADHD, but I'm not really sure. I've been, kind of like missing the mark on some of my work assignments. I'm losing things around the house, um, and it's starting to affect me myself. It's starting to affect my relationship. So, Aaron told me you're the best person to come to and talk about this. So, I just really want to see if this is something that I want to move forward with.
Okay, well, how you doing? My name is Tisa. When you talk to Aaron, tell us that thank you for the referral. But before we get into any details, what are your goals? Like, what are you looking for? Like, I heard what you said, but what exactly are you looking for so that we make sure we're on the same page?
I'm trying to figure things out. I'm feeling lost a lot of the times. It's starting to impact my relationship. It's starting to impact work. And those two things, I'm starting to feel like lesser of a person because, with work not working out and my wife not like being a fan of me at the moment, it's really putting me in a bad place.
Okay, like I get you and I understand that, but maybe I should just rephrase my question like exactly in therapy. Like, what are you looking for? Like, what are your goals and expectations? Like, I hear all of that, but what are you looking for me? Like, what do you want from me? Like, are you trying to work on time management, stress management? Like, what are you looking for? Do you need medication?
I
Like,
don't know.
how can I help you? But you got to tell me what it is that you need.
And that's kind of where I'm struggling. I don't know this is the first time doing something like this, and I'm hoping that we can kind of work through that together, if that's okay with you. Not
That's
having
fine. We
a
can do a couple of
specific outcome.
assessments. Okay, so I heard you mention like a little, like anxiety stuff, forgetting stuff, not getting things done. So maybe we can do, like a GAD, like to test your anxiety levels and do some other little assessments to, kind of monitor your depression, like a Likert scale to kind of see where you are. And, if you don't have any diagnosis, we can talk about, something on a diagnostic level, or if you feel like once we do all the talking and the assessments or whatever, if you want to do medication, then we can do that, or we can just work on developing some coping skills. But we can definitely play it by ear. And as we do the assessment, go through some background questions, maybe that can help, because sometimes that's what it needs. You just need like a good probing question to kind of open up that box so that you can better articulate what it is that you're looking for. So we can play it by ear if you want.
Well, you mentioned medication. I don't know about that. Our people don't do medication. So, like, what do you mean, like medication? I don't want to be like a zombie or like tested like a lab rat or anything like that.
Okay, let's full disclosure. At the end of the day, when it comes to therapy, you have full autonomy, which means you are in control of your session. There's no problem with taking medication. In full disclosure, I take medication. It's not the end of the world. You don't have to be overly medicated or anything. It's just on a case by case. If you're not ready right now, that's completely fine. We can find, like a holistic approach if you want to do that. And we can also get you educated on certain medications. So if it would be beneficial for you, like before you do anything, we can learn all the pros and cons about the medication. If and can it will benefit you, we can get the doctor on the line. So any question that you have, like we can get them answered and all of that. But just know it's not the end of the world. Like don't buy into the stigma that, oh, we don't take medication, because yes we do. Yes,
Okay.
we do. I
All
am
right.
one of them, and there's nothing wrong with it. You can fully function and not be a zombie on medication.
Okay. Okay. I appreciate that. Now, how frequent should we be meeting if I do decide to go with you?
It's up to you. It's up to
Okay.
you. So if you want to do once a week, if you want to do bi-weekly, if you want to do monthly, we can just play it by ear. We can start off weekly for right now, and if that's too much, then we can revisit it and we can adjust the schedule. And you tell me what you need. So
Okay.
we're just
Okay.
gonna go off you telling me what you need. But for
Okay.
right now, we can start off on a weekly basis.
Now, I hear therapy is expensive. I currently um, I have United through my job, but
Mm-hmm.
I also have heard of EAP being
Mm-hmm.
able to cover some of that cost or give me
Mm-hmm.
some sessions. Like, how would you work with EAP to make sure that like I can see if I really want to do this as a thing versus like having to go through my insurance?
Okay, well, with EAP, typically, the company they're contracted with whomever it is that they want to do the services because with EAP, you're probably only going to get about 5 or 6 sessions anyway. And then beyond that, like if they offer additional services outside of their EAP services, then you can stay on with that counselor. Or maybe if they do networking, they can refer you to someone who takes your type of insurance. But as far as that, if I'm not contracted with your actual job, then those EAP sessions they won't be covered with me. They'll be covered with the actual EAP that they have in staff. Now, as far as my job, we do normally particularly take certain types of insurance, but I've been looking into maybe doing some pro bono work, and I can get the information to you. If not, if we need to sit down and try to figure out some other places that'll be a good service for you, we can do that as well. Like Psychology Today, that's a good resource where you can go out and you can filter everything that you're looking for as far as information, how much the therapist is going to charge, what kind of specialty that they use, all of that. So either way, we'll make sure that you get taken care of, even if you don't stay in house with me.
Okay, well, thank you so much. I really appreciate that. I feel a lot more comfortable with you as my therapist. And what's the next step?
The next step is we can pick a day for you to come back and do a formal assessment, and we will sit down, go through everything, go through the assessment I was telling you about earlier, and then I'll walk you through and explain whatever diagnosis that I give you, so that you won't just be like, "Oh yeah, they told me I have depression. They told me I have anxiety." Like I want you to be fully aware and understand because those same things they can look different in other people. So yeah, we have a journey ahead of us, but the next one will just be like the formal assessments and diagnosis and stuff. And then from
Well,
there, we will schedule your other appointments.
thank you. This was great, and I look forward to meeting up with you. So thank you, Tisa, for that. That was great. I know I threw a couple of curveballs, but a
All
couple of
good.
things, but a couple of things I threw in there, which are things that a lot of people don't know, right? So, um, it's okay to come in not knowing what you want to do. I think that was one of my biggest challenges in starting therapy and why my first few sessions took so long is,
Mhm,
I didn't have I didn't know what to expect coming in. I didn't know what
mhm,
questions were going to be asked. Is this typical for you both as it relates? Because I know with your community esque programs, there are people are guided through the system before they get to you all. But in
mhm,
in general, what are those conversations like when a person comes in and they're like, I know in Tisa's case, look, they told me I got to be here. I just got to be here. I don't know what I want to work on. Versus Aaron, they're trying to get to something and they're still not 100%. Because I think with community programs, there are times where there's a lot of ambiguity as to going through the process, and by the time you get to a person like you, like, listen, I just want to get to this place and they told me I got to come through you. So, and I know this was a long question, but um what has that experience been like for y'all?
mhm. What was the first part of the question again?
So yeah, so is it okay, number one, and I know it was long, is it okay for a client or a patient to come in not knowing what the outcome is going to be, right? And then number two,
Completely.
Yeah.
and let's start with number one.
Yeah, I think as we both spoke to, you can be mandated to come to community services, or you can walk in there because you can't afford your medication and you need, and this is the place that you're going to get it because we accept people with no insurance. And so um, they can just want their medication. And then once again, they just, part of it is, what I'm saying, normalizing that people need help. We all need help, and that help comes in different forms and things of that nature. So for people to come there and not even know that therapy could be helpful, or that's part of what they may do, while they're there, is totally normal. There's no, and there, like Tisa said, there's no forcing somebody to do therapy. We have like peer clinicians who are just like peer coaches, and so it's a different form of, it's not therapy, but it's someone you check in with and kind of help you. We have case management. So in asking, and first sitting down with them, it's like, Paige, when you gave all those examples of like the things that are not going on in your life or whatever, or the things that you would like to change, or you see that are, you know, are currently not where you want them to be or whatever. Those are some of the starting points from even having a conversation of what you might get out of therapy or where we might go with it anyway, right? So you're telling me about productivity, you're telling me about relationships, things of that nature, and so we're just really walking side by side with you to start to navigate those things and get to them to a better place, and maybe even pinpoint some of the things that are triggering those things for you. Like, is everything piling on all on you at one time or whatever? So the uncertainty of where you're going, or what you need or what you want to get out of their services is totally fine. It's totally fine. And that's why even the assessments, as Atisa was speaking to, or just further conversation, is going to help us. We are literally walking along the journey together. Even in the first whole assessment, all that stuff, that don't give us all the information. I could be 5 sessions in and get something totally different that you never shared because you weren't comfortable in sharing that when you first met me at the first sit down. And so it's totally fine. And I mean, and we prepare for that. So even the curveballs you were throwing, those are very real. Those are very real. You know what I'm saying? Somebody will say, "I'm just here because I had to be here for my probation." Like, can you print a letter saying I was here and da 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 da, and then you go from there. And then 2 weeks later, this person is just like, "Man, I thank you for being here to talk, so I can talk to somebody," and you didn't even expect them to want to do therapy or whatever. So it can turn around. So yeah, that's my experience in regards to um, especially in community setting. And the same thing, people will come in as couples and say that they want to work on communication. Communication is only half the battle. We need to actually work on the patterns that you learned in some other, in your early life, and the stuff that y'all doing back and forth that's not healthy in your relationship. There's a lot of other stuff to unpack than just, so they come with one idea, but you're slowly throughout the process really uncovering and discovering what's needed to be worked on, grown, let go of, all those things. So
So
I
the
have a
next thing,
question. It
go ahead.
sounded really technical, the process, like just certain words like assessment, evaluation. Is it always like that, or is it because Paige came in as an informed potential patient? Because it felt really like stoic and really like I wouldn't want to open myself up in that type of initial environment. So I can understand where you said it takes like 5 or 6 sessions, because if the first session feels like intake, it doesn't it doesn't give me the liberty or the permission, or influence me to want to just express myself.
So
Hmm.
just to be clear, there is intake, which is kind of like a consultation, right? And
Yeah.
there is the first session, which is after you've both agreed that this is a person that I'm, because we're going to touch first session this next segment. But
Okay.
and the reason I wanted to clarify that is like that first conversation with Tisa was to determine whether or not Tisa, I'm vibing with Tisa, or if the things Tisa are saying makes me want to go to another session, right?
Mm,
Because Tisa doesn't have to accept me. Like I may not meet the requirements for a client for her. So based on the things that I was saying, she could easily be like, you know what, I may not be able to help you on this one. I think
hmm
you can work with one of my colleagues who specialize in ADHD, or who specialize in relationships, and that could be a transfer or a referral to somebody else. And so
Yeah.
that's why I wanted to make sure I differentiate the difference between an intake versus an actual session. But we'll get to that, and I want to make sure that we clarify that. And Tisa and Aaron, correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, and then like I was saying, like our job is different. Like I don't do the actual intake, so the demographics and stuff like that, like the duration and stuff, that normally happens in the front. So a lot of times they're not going to be as bored by the time they got to me because they done did all the little, like you say, stoic stuff up at there in the front. So by the time they come to me, like I'm pretty much like, "What's up? Good morning. How you doing? Like, what we doing for you today?" Like, yeah, so all that stuff it gets done in the front, and then they come and sit with me, and it's more like in detail, like okay, and I'm just basically going and I'm verifying like stuff that I seen in their records, and then from there, like I'm finding my probing questions to get what it is that I need that has nothing really to do with all the admin that they had to do up front to see like what they want, if they wanted just medication or if they just wanted mental health or
Mm-hmm.
substance abuse. So I don't have to worry about all that stuff. I can just get straight to what it is that I need and go about my business.
I would add to, or I would respond to Jackie's question in the way that, so it is a little more formal in community health settings because you have so many parameters that you have to do. They have to do these assessments. They have to do. Whereas with my private clients, I can send them some of those pre-assessments. They already getting those when they doing the paperwork, and so by the time we
Got
come, we might talk a little bit about it.
it.
I'm
Mm-hmm.
going to tell you like what the numbers are, but I'm not even using a lot of times. At my even in community health, I'm not using assessment, the word assessment, a lot. They know that they've already sometimes some of those assessments they've already done some of the paper, like for the PHQ-9 they might have done that sitting there waiting for me or whatever. I'm actually getting to know them as a person. I
Yeah.
think in this context where we're answering the question and providing some more context, I think it can be a little more technical, but
Yeah.
honestly I'm having real conversation with them about how their weekend went. Did they, if it just came out the holiday, how did they spend the holiday? Did they eat good? That's how I'm coming. And my office is set up so we kicking back and having a good time. I'm going to,
Yeah.
one thing that I chose to do in my space in community health is to ensure that the space that I have there, it looks just like or even more comfortable than the space I have at private practice because I'm allowing
Creating an
my people to
environment.
have, yeah, having the same experience. Just because they're not paying for it don't mean nothing. They deserve it, and they need it just as much, or not even more. So I will say, yeah. Although we're being technical and giving some of those examples, I would say, it depends on the style. Every therapist, every clinician
Yeah.
has a different style and stuff, and so there are some there's more red tape, a lot of red tape because you're dealing with insurance and state fundings and all that stuff. But when it comes to, and so therefore, but when it comes back to like being able to build rapport and relationship, you have to meet that person exactly where they are.
Right, right. I was just asking because that goes toward the stigma. I think it's worth noting that we are in a position where in our youth and early adult life, it was less talked about, it was taboo, it was like we are in that generation that is more exposed to it, open to the change, et cetera, et cetera. But I think
Mm-hmm.
in removing the stigma, there is a lot of stigma around if I come to a professional around mental health, it's going to feel stoic, it's going to feel like I'm a
Mm-hmm.
number, it's going to feel like, so it's, Aaron, it's a good point that you make, that it's, yeah, there are technical things that we have to get out of the way. There are questions that we have to ask, but it's up to the therapist to provide an environment that's suitable for open communication and vulnerability.
Mm-hmm.
Also, a good point about the therapist deciding that it's not a good fit, because I think it's like, PCPs, people think if I choose a doctor, that doctor's going to always accept me. It might not be the right fit. You might have to shop
Mm-hmm.
around. You might have to meet with someone for a consultation. You might have to decide, just like any other relationship, does this work for me? Does this
Yeah.
personality fit? The two,
Mm-hmm.
five different therapists, all different therapists can be saying the very same thing, but as an individual, I'm going to receive it differently from them saying this same language, just in tone, posture, position, presence, all of that. So, all worth noting in terms of if our objective is to is to remove the stigma, or at least broaden people's horizons about and understanding about what it means to go to therapy. That whole feeling like you are walking into being diagnosed immediately and being assessed and being judged and being, like we have to understand that people, yeah, there are questions that need to be asked, but you're still dealing with a person with empathy and compassion and knows how to listen.
It also helps when people come in and they see you look just like them. Like a lot of my clients, like it's like a weightlifter. They just like, oh, and they be like, oh shit, y'all black, yeah. Because everybody in my office, like we all black, and so when they come, they're like, oh, okay, I
Right,
can do this. I
right.
can,
That
yeah, and then
automatic
they,
folk
yeah,
feeling.
and I ain't
Yeah.
talking all proper and prim and stuff, and I'm like, so I mean, so do you bang? When they be like, what you mean? Like, ain't no cameras in here. Like, yeah, I'm smart, I ain't got it, but I'm gonna talk to you like you need to be talked to. So
Right.
Yeah.
we can
Right.
get where we need to be. And
Right.
once they be like,
Yeah.
oh, okay, bet, got you. Yeah, I'm a little messed up. I'm like, oh, I mean, I was looking at the records, but I'm glad that you like, that you keeping a buck with me. So I was like, it makes a difference. But when they come and they see we all black, they be like, oh, okay. Like
Yeah.
Different feeling.
the flip side
Oh,
of it,
they
like you had
definitely
them
get
other
different
people that
feelings.
come in, they like, shit, they all black. Like
Yeah.
I mean, it does make a difference in
Hmm.
creating that safe space, right? Because
Hmm.
one of the things that is becoming another, like, I guess, keyword or buzzword is cultural competency, right? Having that understanding of culture of the patients that you treat. Now, with that being said, one of the other curveballs I threw at you guys were EAP and insurance. Explain to folks the importance of understanding what your insurance covers versus like what the therapist covers, because um that insurance game is tough, and it can be disappointing when you find somebody that you want to work with. Now, once again, I think Tisa provided a great resource like Psychology Today, because you'll know automatically if they don't take your insurance. Like, most of the providers on there have the insurances that they receive or accept, and that allows you to really feel like you can do that. But let's talk to EAP. And once again, everyone may not have it, but if you do have it, I think you touched on it during the reenactment. Um, what is EAP, and how does it benefit those that are seeking therapy and don't really know if they like want to truly commit?
so EAP is the Employment Assistance Program. Most, I'm not gonna say all, most companies, especially companies that's on a larger scale, they have some type of contracts with EAP, and each country's EAP is different, but they offer a multitude of services, whether it's like some type of counseling for some people that want to do like IOP and stuff like that, which is intensive outpatient and things like that. So if you dealing with like substance abuse or just mental health and stuff, they usually have some type of resource for you, and it's paid for. It's just you have to go most of the time through your HR department to learn more about the EAP program and what they have to offer. And so me, like I believe in passing along information. I'm not an information hoarder. I don't like when people do that. So when I come across a resource or something, I always share. So I also always tell my clients about vocational rehabilitation, and they work with individuals with disabilities, regardless if it's physical, mental, cognitive, emotional, whatever. Like if you got a disability, and now that substance abuse is recognized on a medical model, they also recognize that as well. You can use the service as many times as you want, but I always tell them about that. If you're in North Carolina, NC Works is great. Um, what is it, findhelp.org. So I'm an information person. Like I love to pass stuff like that on to my clients so that they can have things that they need. And EAP is pretty much kind of like the same thing, just an information hub. And your job, they have a lot of different resources and stuff that they're connected to within the community, and some of them they may have just people that they retain on staff, but you have to reach out to your HR to see specifically what it is that your company offers, because not everybody's program is the same. But it's beneficial, and you almost guaranteed we'll get those little 5 or 6 sessions free of charge. Now, what you do
Mhm.
after that 5 or 6 is it's on you. But I always tell people it's at least a way for you to get comfortable or get an idea what it's like to go to therapy. So I tell them to kind of use it as like a little practice run. Like, don't let it be your standard for certain, but it's a way for you to get your feet wet and at least get comfortable to talking to somebody that's on neutral grounds. They don't know you from a can of paint. Once your session's over with, they probably ain't gonna think about you no more. So it's a good way to get your foot in the door with therapy or any other type of service, really.
And it's crazy how many people don't know that exists. So I appreciate y'all for sharing. Aaron, do you have anything to add to that?
Just tap into HR. When you do, they give you the number, you call the representative. They will ask you a few questions. It'll be a brief assessment, basically. They'll ask you, are you having anxiety or something like that? They'll ask you, like, what's bringing you or what you're searching for. And you can do it for couples therapy or families therapy. It's not just individual therapy. So, and I think EAPs they've shrunk a little bit because when I first started utilizing them myself, it was up to like 8 to 10 sessions or whatever, and then I would maybe continue to them. But I think like Tisa was saying, they vary. But yeah, EAP is just they walk you through everything. They ask you, are you going to do it online? Like, do you prefer online? If not, like they'll ask you. Obviously, they try to find within network so you could possibly continue. That's one of the things that's really important. So if you have insurance and you're trying to stay with someone who also they take your EAP, but they also take your insurance, then if that works for you, you can continue with those people, that same therapist or whatever have you. And also within your vicinity, like where are you located? They ask you where you located in regards to work or home, and if you basically prefer like one or the other in regards to the vicinity. So if you are traveling, so they ask all the questions. Really, you just have to know you want help or assistance.
Now, the other piece is insurance, right? Insurance is a tough one because I think Aaron, your community program accept both insured and uninsured, and Tisa, your program is being funded through the federal prison system, correct? Or
So we're contracted, but yeah, BOP pays that. But I also choose to work in an environment where I personally don't have to worry about it because when it comes to insurance and stuff, it's too much. That's why just one on one. I personally ain't trying to get credentialed by myself because it's just too much when it comes to insurance and stuff like that. And honestly, a lot of clinicians, especially whenever they become fully licensed, they just do like cash only or credit card because it's too much to deal with the insurances and stuff. And then some of them they limit how many sessions you can get. And then whenever you're setting up notes and stuff, they're very particular because they're gonna always look for a loophole how they can't pay you or why they won't pay you for the client services. So it's just it's a lot. It's a beast when it comes to insurance and stuff. It is a beast. Like how you code everything matters because if you give the person a wrong code, whenever you get ready to go bill, they're not going to try to pay because it's not billable. So it's so much. And if you don't like doing a whole bunch of paperwork and stuff, you're probably going to run into a lot of clinicians that's just like, no, I take cash or credit card because they
now,
just don't want to be bothered.
correct me if I'm wrong, and I might have overheard this incorrectly. If you are receiving services, how your diagnose follows you, is that the case? So, for example, like if I was diagnosed with like severe depression, does that change with each therapist, or each therapist would, like, let's say I go to another one, or either of you, would you have to code me differently in the system to be supported by my insurance company, or like it's a new assessment for a new provider?
It
It would be
it
a
depends. I'm sorry. You want to go ahead?
I was just gonna say it could be a new assessment. I'm gonna ask the client. Like one of the things I ask the client is if they ever had. One of the questions you're asking is, have you ever sought any mental health, behavioral health help, or resources? And people will come and tell you, oh yeah, they said when I was younger I had ADD or something. They'll tell you something already. So that is like one of the notes that you're taking to say, okay, and see if there are some people come, they already are medicated, like they're already or at least taking medications, whereas other people are don't. And once again, there's a big difference between private practice and community health because private practice, you, especially for example, as what Tisa was saying, at my private practice, we don't take insurance. So you can, now, if I will always talk to them, because some insurances will reimburse you if you do like what's called a super bill and things of that nature. And so that's why I wanted to, and in the space that we share, like Accountability Brothers, I always offer my help to people to navigate it, and I do all take all the guessing work out of it for them. I say, do you have insurance? If you have insurance, do you have prefer male? Do you care if they are, do they need to be Christian? Da, 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 da. And I do all that, and then I send them an email with a couple of different people to choose from. Hey, talk to these people and check with them and see, what are some of the things they're doing, because I'm trying to take away all the guessing work and some of those barriers before they get to that point anyway.
Mhm.
I appreciate you for that, because that by itself is tough, and it can be very discouraging, overwhelming, and I'll just be like, you know what, F it, I don't want to do it anymore. Um, I want to go on to the next state here, which is something that Jackie touched on earlier, which is the session. So I want to do a reenactment of a session. Like, okay, intake is completed, and we're gonna use Jackie as the patient, and Aaron is gonna be the professional. So I'll let you guys go for it, and then Jackie, throw as many curveballs as you want at Aaron. I think he's a professional; he can handle it.
Okay.
Hey, Jackie, how are you doing today? What's been going on?
Um, I don't know how to answer that question. Everything is just busy, but I designed it that way, so I can't be upset about it. I got life stuff, work stuff, helping out people, caregiving for my father in love, my husband, all the things. Like it's all the things nonstop.
Okay.
It's good
So
though.
does that busy include time for yourself?
Yeah, I make sure to make time for myself, but it's a little bit too much of it is like social media time, like scrolling and posting, and I need to get some more outdoor time. I know that
Okay.
mentally.
Okay. Some more outdoor time. So noted. So we'll definitely check into that. Okay. So what's tell me what's been a highlight since we last checked in? Something good.
Highlight since we last checked in. Okay, so there are. We took in my nephew, his girlfriend, now fiance. They just got engaged, and
Amazing.
their kids. Right? That's so great. So as soon as they got engaged, I was like, okay, so what's the plan to move out? What's going on? And so they are. You got money for a rent. You got money for rent. Like, what's that? Right? So they are moving in the process of moving now. So like that, it's great to see that we came down here to Atlanta. We've had several rounds of people come get their start in this house and then like move on to their own space and all that. So I think that's a beautiful highlight for, especially for a caregiver and someone who wants to help people on their journey, like be that
Yeah.
stop where they replenish and they, save up and then go on to the next thing.
Okay, that's amazing. So I hear something. I wanna ask how do you ensure that you have boundaries and limitations with caregiving? Because I that can become something that consumes our lives and prioritizes others over ourselves. So tell me some ways that you set some boundaries and limitations.
Dr. Aaron, that's why I come to you because it's no boundaries. It's just when I'm fed up, I lash out. When I give and I give, and as soon as I feel like, oh, wait a minute, you trying to play me and you messing with my you're not being grateful for my generosity, then it's this blow up. I haven't mastered having a because I love big and I love hard, and that's really how I know to do. And I only know to pull back when I feel like, oh, this is not equitable. Like you're not
Mm,
right. You understand what I'm saying? Like I'm giving, and you taking, and you're not
okay.
saying thank you.
Okay. So one thing that I think is important here, that if we start to know what are some things, what are some signs, I call them the yellow flags. They're not quite the red flags, but they might be the
Mhm.
yellow flags that tell us we're slowing down. Like what's some things that you might have noticed in the experience you've had where you've hosted some family or allowed someone to stay, that you've seen
Mhm.
some things and you didn't really maybe speak up or get in alignment with them in the way that you should have or could have?
Okay, good question. Let me just think about that for. Okay, so I have OCD about the counter. I At night I want counters clean. I want counters clean. And a little thing that I kind of overlook, yellow flag, there'll be a baby bottle on the counter or some food that people didn't quite put away, didn't quite finish, or even some crumbs, which could throw me over the edge, but the crumbs I just kind of do, you know. But those things like stuff out. Oh, and garbage not taken out. Like that might be a red. That might go to red. Yellow would be the counter is
Okay.
not completely clean at night.
Okay.
The island
Okay.
specifically.
Understood. Understood. And I can totally relate. I'm very much there. I want to wake up I want to be able to set things out.
Oh,
Right.
right.
Yes.
I want the sun to
Um,
be shining in on a very clean kitchen. That's the way I
yeah.
like to wake up, go downstairs, you know?
So my question for you is then what kind of conversation do you have when you first allow these people to come stay with you?
So we have house meetings. We're very big on communication. So we do have house meetings. But initially, even when someone express or when we offer, I'll say, not a lot of rules, and this is a time for you to set up and replenish. But common areas need to be clean.
Mm.
And what I have no tolerance for is inconveniencing my husband's father.
Mm.
So he is legally blind and he knows where on the counter to go get the paper towel. He has a place in the kitchen in the refrigerator to get his food. So I specifically lay out do not put food on this shelf in the refrigerator. That's pop shelf. Do not block or obstruct or move the paper towel and make sure it's replenished. Don't leave an empty paper towel roll because then he's like, what's going on? Do not inconvenience him at all. And speak, say good morning because he's blind, so he doesn't know who's in the kitchen or who's in his space. So say good morning, go touch his hand, say, hey Pop, how you doing? Those are the true rules that I set. Everything else kind of develops over time and the communication happens over time.
Okay. And you feel like it has helped to hold some people accountable? It just depends on the person and kind of their attention span, maybe.
Yeah, yeah. And we give a lot of grace for there's a reason why you came here, right? Either you lost your job, aren't able to find opportunity where you are, the cost of living is crazy up north, or just something happened that put you in a space where you need support.
Mm.
So there is a big level of grace given when people come because you don't come in as your best self. You don't come in your best state. Something happened and triggered a reason why you need the support. So there's a lot of grace on that. So I do give grace for that. But when I feel like I've extended grace beyond what you are conscious of, then I, I might blow up.
Give me an example of
Aaron, I'm
what.
from Jamaica, Queens, and sometimes that got to come out. It can't always stay in. Sometimes people need that to come out because they forget that I'm choosing peace. You understand what I'm saying? They
Yeah.
forget that peace is my second thought. If I allow my first thought to prevail, it might be something.
Understood. 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 So, what is that point before you kind of reach that? Is there anything that you like? Is there a conversation you have with your husband that says, "Hey, I think we're gonna have to," like, what happens before that that Jamaica Queens comes out?
Well, sometimes it comes out on my husband. We are in constant contact. Like we're constant contact. So
Yeah.
we're talking about things as they go. It's just at what point do I decide, oh, that's enough? It's more of a conversation in my head with myself.
Mhm.
It's more of that old inner me that I've grown from saying, I need to step in because peaceful you is not getting the job done. So now we got to talk to people like they're not our loved ones. So it's
Mm.
more of a conversation with myself. Like, you trying, oh, they trying to play me because I did this and I extended this courtesy and this, but they shit on that. Okay, it's more of a conversation with myself.
Okay. Okay. Is there a instance in which that did not happen for you, where you were actually able to? It worked out where there was not a space where you had to kind of come out of the bag on them and send them packing. Was there an example where it just amicably worked out? Their time frame, they met it. They kept going.
You know what? Perfect timing. Last night, I got what we have a family chat or a house chat, and I got a wild text message about because they are in transition, and in our minds it only takes one day to move. We only going to go one time to the next spot from the previous spot. They were rushed. They left the room in disarray. I went in there because we also are Camp Benjamin right now. We are we are housing God kids in the double digit, but not quite old enough to care for themselves space. So we got wrapped up. Okay. See, that's how I feel with my therapist too. I'll be talking, they be like, it's 55 minutes. We're gonna have to go to the next time. I need a 2 hour session. That's what I need.
Yeah. Well.
Anyway, yes, yesterday I got a wild text message about just like, oh, you went in my room. I had to go in the room for something. Oh, you went in my room, and then followed by, okay, I'll make sure I'm out of your house or your space by whatever morning. I didn't respond to that. My immediate thought was to respond to that with
Mhm.
some get out now, but I didn't let it ride. This morning, I was anticipating a conversation. Went downstairs. Hey, Auntie, I'm so sorry about what I texted yesterday. I was just rushed. So the silence was enough to, but if I responded back, that wouldn't have been the case. But
Mhm.
the turnaround was a quick 180 this morning. Maybe she had time to sleep on it, whatever it was, but it was, I'm so sorry, Auntie. And, you know, let's move
Mm.
forward from there.
Amazing. Amazing.
So thank you both for doing that. And Aaron, if you have to send me a bill, I completely understand. It's it's all my fault. But you know, I want people to see how Jackie and Aaron built a rapport. What's up, baby? Built a
Aw.
rapport in their session, right? Because the goal of the session is once you get past the intake, you realize, all right, this is my person. This is the person I want to work with, and you know, and I will admit to this. I was one of those people that wasted the first few sessions, right?
Mm,
I didn't want to talk about what I wanted to. I didn't want to talk. I was embarrassed. I was
yeah.
feeling like feeling like I didn't want to open up. And and Aaron and Tisa, you guys could probably attest to this, where sometimes it's like pulling teeth the first few sessions to figure out what the person is talking about. So let's dissect this from both Tisa and Aaron's perspective, and then Jackie as well. Um, the session, it's building rapport, it's understanding the needs. Jackie talked about a couple of things, right? Some of the things that trigger her, as far as like anxiousness and being able to support her family and being overwhelmed. Um, and she might not have been the person that realized maybe therapy was for me. Um, Tell us about, like, reviewing the session. What have you seen that you want to kind of explain to people what was happening?
For me, I would say because this was supposed to be the first session, I'm getting to know her. So
Mm,
it's not gonna maybe seem as what people may think like therapy is really life altering. It can almost seem like two friends having a conversation in a sense because I'm honestly feeling out. But all the while she's talking to me, I'm checking on things that okay, she might give, she like overly gives. Okay, we need to, like I'm finding things out, but still I'm building rapport and creating safety for her to be her full self, there, and all those things. And so that's really important, because that's when someone can decide, yeah, yeah, this is for me, it's not. Just because you go to the first session, I tell people, give like a date, give somebody 3 or 4 sessions, a therapist 3 or 4 sessions before you even decide that might be for you. You are interviewing, just like if you go into a job, you interviewing them and they interviewing you. I always say that you ain't gonna be locked into no relationship. You shouldn't be locked into no relationship in your life that's not really serving you for the purpose that it's supposed to serve you. So if it doesn't feel good, it's okay to do the deuces. So that's just the first time, and it's building rapport. But it's also, the therapist is also taking notes of habits, of practices, patterns, those things that they're hearing, all through the banter, all through the laughter, all through
Hmm.
the sharing and the disclosure.
Yeah.
And I love the probing questions that led to Jackie asking, like providing more, because like I ain't see no curveballs because she was just going with the flow. But I appreciate that. Tisa, you're okay. You're off mute now. You were gonna say something, but you're back. So did you wanted to share?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, like, usually, like, if I have a client and I come in and they come in and I feel like they just very cathartic, I just let them have it. Like, just get it all out they get it out their system. Because sometimes people, they just need to just get it out, and it may seem like rambling and all this stuff, but they just really just need to just get all that stuff out. And so normally I tell them, just get it all out. And I'm a very observant person, so in between all that, I learn to listen for what they're not saying, or
Mm.
learn how to pick up on the silence, because people's silence can tell you a lot, or their mannerisms when they're saying certain things. So they may be talking about a lot of stuff, but how they move or how they react whenever they talk to certain things, or if you ask them a certain questions, like if you get ready to ask a probing question like about trauma or depression or something, how they react to that, like their body language, or if they pause, or if there's an inflection in their voice or something, like all those things, I pay attention to those, sometimes more so than what they're saying, because sometimes people, they come in and they tell you what they think you want to hear versus them just telling their truth. And after they finish doing all that, and I'm like, hey, I'm not judging. I don't want you to tell me what you think I want to hear. Like, I just want you to tell me the truth. You ain't got to dress it up. You ain't got to make it sound horrible than what it was. You ain't got to
Hmm.
make it nicer than what it was. Like, just tell me your truth, your perspective, and how you live it. And I also tell them, like, if it's too much, give me just a little superficial piece so that I can get what I need, and then we can build from there. But just at least give me something you can at least acknowledge, yes or no. And once you do
Hmm.
that, and I was like, okay, and we'll go on through it, later on, like in later sessions. But those first couple is just basically just being observant. Like he was saying, like you're getting to know each other because they watching me just like I'm watching them. But
Hmm.
really, like that's really the biggest thing. Like I'm looking at what's not being said, or how you reacting to certain stuff. Because some people, it's just they don't know how to say it, so you got to know how to listen for what it is that they're not saying, but they want to tell you. So
Hmm.
that's just how it does for me.
So I'm gonna go to Jackie since you were part of the conversation, the session, right? How did
Hmm.
that feel? Go ahead. Do you have to drop? Okay. Yeah.
I want to
Appreciate you. Go ahead. Go ahead.
thank you all. I have to go. I appreciate it. It was a wonderful time. Y'all take care.
No
It
problem.
was
Take
nice
Thank
to
care.
you,
meet you.
Dr. Aaron.
Thank you. Bye bye.
So
Um,
Jackie, go ahead.
yeah, I agree with Tisa, especially initially what you said. Sometimes some people just need to get it out and rant and need someone to listen because in their normal lives, one, the thing that they're complaining about, they might not be able to talk to that person about it. Or if you're talking to somebody else, they're going to naturally interject their own stuff, their own, oh, how I would do it. Or this is what happened to me that may be similar or might be completely different. And you like, I was talking about what I was talking about. So I want somebody that's going to listen. So sometimes it's just an unbiased, unobjective person to listen to. And that's what I felt like. That's why I couldn't even throw him a curveball because I felt like it was it was genuine listening and I needed that. I actually used that session. That was for me. I needed that few minutes. So yeah, it's just like an uninterrupted probing questions, but probing questions around what I'm talking about, not changing the subject, not moving on to something else, but letting me get out what I, want to get out. And I think that's a huge benefit to talking to somebody that isn't in your personal life, that doesn't share life with you, that can look objectively and also not carry some of who you used to be into the conversation. A lot of times people that know us well, they project what they think we need or they think we're saying, not exactly what we're saying or even what we're not saying. So that was good. And like you said, the mannerisms, all of that, like I'm paying attention to him like he's paying attention to me, which gives me cues to be comfortable. It gives me cues to speak freely. It gives me permission to just say what I'm saying without having to package it in a certain way.
Hmm.
Now, Copeland, the last time we did this, you were in the hot seat. How does it feel not to be in the hot seat? And tell your life story as it relates to this session.
Well, I mean, to be honest, Jackie did the same exact thing that I did. So it wasn't, it didn't change, it literally didn't change the dynamic. And from what she's saying, as far as she actually got something out of the mini mock pseudo session, it was the same, oh, sorry. It was the same stuff that happened to me, So I mean, but I also think that there were a lot of things that Tisa said that we also heard from the therapist in that space. Like Dr. Quebec spoke about allowing a person one therapy session to talk about the past, like get it all out, but we've got to move forward. But he allows that moment, like you said, of getting it off your chest. And I think one of the things that we've been talking about all day is the actual level of comfortability and the fact that the therapists that we have aren't robots or doctors per se. The way that we think about doctors, they're really human beings. You had that one clip where the guys were playing basketball and one of the guys was a therapist. Like the people, like you might have just hit your future therapist with a flagrant foul. They're humans in our community, and so there is a lot of relatability, especially when we can look across and see ourselves. But I did have a question. It's kind of weird, but for me, if I was to walk into a room and I see a black woman across the room, there's a level of comfort that I do have. Gender wars aside, that makes me feel there's a level of safety and comfortability that I can have and vulnerability. As we heard, Jackie has experienced that, right? But have you ever found that being a black woman has been comfortable for people of other cultures and races?
I think that's for Tisa.
Yeah, sorry.
What was that? What was the question again?
The question was,
Okay,
as
so
a
so the
therapist.
question,
Go ahead.
yeah, so as a therapist, like, for me, if I was to walk into your room, I feel comfortable with you because I'm seeing a black woman across from me, right? Even though I'm not a black woman, you provide a level of comfort for me because of what a black woman represents in my life. So, do you ever find that that's the same for other cultures as well for you? Like they may be comfortable or looking for a black woman?
Um, yes, and then also I had a client come in and come to find out, well, he wasn't my client. I did his assessment, but he was on another client's caseload, and he um he said he wanted to basically he wanted a white clinician.
Hmm.
That was the first time kind of, is experiencing it, like seeing that, like, the flip side of it. He felt like as a black woman, she couldn't relate to anything that he had to say or, or whatever. So he requested somebody white, which
Hmm.
in either of our location, yeah, that wasn't gonna work because we all black.
Hmm. I find that in life, though, Copeland, I find that there are other races and other cultures, particularly with children, that will seek out a Black woman or just people who feel comfortable. I worked in a corporate space for a very long time where, I was the minority, especially as an executive, and people would come to me because they felt comfortable. I think we present a space that are is nurturing, but
Mhm.
also we're our reputation is that we're going to keep it real. And I think that's probably what the experience that you had, Tisa, is like there's certain people that don't want to keep it real, or just racist, just period. But if you're not, you do accept the fact that Black women have a nurturing quality that supersedes any other race. That's just the fact of it. And so people do come to us more often when they want to be consoled, when they want to be cared for, when they want to be nurtured. I find that in life. And I know that's not just me, particularly. I know friends, family members, other Black women who have that kind of feeling. I don't know a white woman that has that. I don't, and I have friends who happen to be white, and I experience white
Right.
women in a different capacity. But like, I
Mhm.
just experienced that from the people that I know, and it's that it could be that whole mammy syndrome, the whole that whole we are known as the caregivers, as the nurturers. We make people feel comfortable, not just people within our race. Sometimes too comfortable.
Yeah.
Sometimes you got to check people because they too come.
So I want to wrap this up a little bit. We covered a couple misnomers around mental health and therapy specifically, right? Number one, the conversation. The conversations can happen in so many different ways, whether it's with a partner, whether it's with some friends. As Copeland stated, you playing basketball and you telling somebody you're thinking about therapy, and all of a sudden you find out when your friends are a therapist. Um, then we walked into the intake process. Tisa did a great job showing what a typical intake process could possibly look like. There are probing questions, there are assessments that need to be made. um, Aaron touched on the fact that depending on who you're working with, the assessments and questions are all asked before you even meet with them, just to kind of like shine light on what an intake process looked like. And then we moved forward with, the casual conversation of a session, right? It's Jackie providing her experience, what's going on, and an active listening therapist continues to probe to kind of get an understanding of where they are. We didn't get a chance to talk about medication and stuff like that, but Tisa talked about it a little bit earlier around the fact that some therapists are taking medication. I am taking medication. I clearly am not a zombie as I'm trying to manage this show, but I do think that there has been a change in how psychiatrists are dosing our community. It's not let's go straight to Ritalin or let's go straight to Prozac or let's go straight to Adderall. It's let's figure out what works best for you, your chemical makeup, your medical history, and then kind of go from there. Um, I do want to pose to everybody, what is a stigma that you feel like was at least lifted for you during this session? And I'll let anybody go. So Jackie, let's start with Jackie. Jackie, what's a stigma that was lifted for you during this session?
During this talk we have, or this
This
session
this
I had
con
with
this
Dr. Aaron,
conversation and this
this
this entire
conversation.
episode.
Um, a stigma lifted. I think I went into the conversation knowing that there are stigmas that exist, but my journey over the past, I don't know, decade. I'll share so maybe not in this conversation, but I'll share what stigma has been lifted for me in a therapy journey, and that's the stigma of you start with someone and you can stay with them. You have to stay with them or you have to commit with them. Like just because you selected them, if you went through a list of people or you assigned someone, okay, well, I choose that one, I have a conversation with them, I'm going to commit to them because even if I don't feel comfortable in the first session or two, that's just me having to get over being in therapy. No, it might be a connection issue with that particular therapist.
Okay, Copeland.
Well, I mean, for me personally, I don't really have any stigmas around mental health. Like I've been blessed to be surrounded by a lot of actual therapists who, and if anybody that knows me, like you can't really be around me and not be some sort of a dynamic human being. So I've always known the therapists that I know like as people, but then I've always had like a respect for what they do because a lot of them share what they do with me, because I'm not the therapist, I'm more of their friend that could be a patient. So there's a lot for me. I think that in the space I'm more on the side of trying to advocate for people to be looking for it, and not even just the therapy aspect, like the mental health therapy with the therapist, but also the mental health like maintenance that comes from having community and having people that will take you in and allow you to reset your life, and places that you can go where you can recharge your love battery and stuff like that. And I think that it's all very, very important to life, you know. So for me, I like just meeting new therapists and seeing new people in the spaces who actually validate, my theory about the humans in the space, and the fact that I think we need more spaces to present the humans to the people, and then the therapy will happen.
I think you used the wrong word. You said validate, but I think you meant challenge.
Well, no, I don't know it because when I see it, it's like that's what I be thinking. I look at Tisa and I'm like, yeah, like look, go talk to her. Like she probably know what you. I don't. She do. Like I'm not qualified. I don't. I can't. I don't. What do I? I don't know what to do. But look at her. She will you fight? She probably will fight. So go talk to her. And watch your way. Just watch your tone. Just don't talk to her like you talk to me. She professional, but So, I I am what like I really believe, but it's like because I believe in the power of the conversation, right? And I also believe in the power of kindness and compassion. And so, from my experience as a layman, those are the three most important things that I think you get from a good therapist, or not even a good therapist, the therapist that fits you. And so, yeah, like as I watched how they operate, because that's the whole purpose of, kind of getting into the therapy room. It's I, maybe it's because it's what I'm looking for, and so it's an observer bias that I have, and nobody's ever going to take away from me because it is what I'm looking for, and so I see it, and I'm happy to see it, you know.
So, Tisa, the question is going to be slightly different for you. Leading into being a practitioner, what are some of the stigmas that were lifted for you as you started to go down a journey of being a licensed professional or a certified professional and being able to provide these services?
Ooh. Mm, I don't know if I would say um I don't know if I would say the stigma was erased. In the setting that I work in, I would say more so anything, I see how they're reinforced every day. Um, because they come in with this notion like, oh yeah, no, you trying to shrink me, you trying to do this, and so I have to get through those walls before I can even get to the point of them being comfortable. That's why I I advocate so hard for my clients, honestly. because not enough of them feel comfortable enough to come in and be like, hey, I do need some help. Because some of them, I read they chart, like they opt out, and I'm just like, I mean, I respect it, but I mean, I know it'd be beneficial. So I constantly have to deal with those stigmas being reinforced because when they're coming from a federal prison background, and most of the people who did the diagnosis and the medication, all that, they're white. Whether it's a white man, white woman, whatever, like they don't look like them. So they already, come in with this feeling some type of way because they're guarded because of the environment that they came in. Now they coming in and all they hear is clinician or, doctor for meds or whatever. In reality, they just, mm-mm. So I have to literally in my session make sure to negate all the things that they've heard about it and give them a position to look at it differently. Like, okay, I get it. I understand you. I'm not judging you, but this is what therapy can do for you. This is what therapy looks like here. Like I can't speak anywhere else, but here in this place, this is what we do. This is what I do as a clinician. And that's how I personally have to do it because I see the whole flip side of it. Like they come in so guarded, like, hell no, I ain't doing that. I don't want to take no meds, or they had me walking around as zombie. So I take the moment to educate them on it, medication again. Like, okay, we can start from scratch. We're gonna erase everything, start from scratch. You're gonna talk to the doctor. I basically let them know like, hey, I don't know who you worked with before, but the doctor on our staff, she's gonna listen, she's gonna, take care of you, all those things. And that's how I have to beat the stigma on my end, is basically not just telling them, but providing that space so they can actually see it and feel it. Because it's one thing where you just saying stuff, but if your actions and the environment that you're giving them isn't in alignment with what they're saying, then you're basically not doing anything but reinforcing what they already feel anyway. So I just do my best to debunk what it is that they already feel because they coming in with the stigma on their back, like, hell nah. Well, I just played crazy because I needed to do this, or I was trying to get in this unit. In reality, nah, they really need some help. You just have to kind of get them to think differently about the stigma because they come in the door with the stigma. So for me, it's different. Like I have to work a little harder to debunk it. So
Well,
yeah,
I thank you for all the work you're doing. Hopefully, I think the work you're trying to do or you're doing, will hopefully help reduce the recidivism. I can never say the word right. Recidivism, right? Did I say the right word? All right.
yeah,
You will stop people going right back to jail because of either a mental disorder or something of that nature. Because we already know, instead of providing treatment, they put you in jail, especially if you look like us. With that being said, um, removing the stigma is a program that we are looking to host in person across the United States. The goal is to go into every community, work with community organizers, community organizations to have these in person conversations so that people understand a little bit more about therapy. I think even in where we grew up, if there were people coming in and talking to us about therapy and what it looks like at each stage, people would be less um, hesitant to go into therapy. I think once we begin to remove the veil around what some of these practices are or what some of these experiences can be like, it would hopefully allow people to be more open to receiving services. So, with that being said, I appreciate you all for jumping on, and hopefully, we will see you guys at a removing the stigma near you. Until next time, stay safe. Peace.